I guess my advice would be to people who aren't on the transplant list more, because, I mean, there's people sitting there who have had no life like me their whole life, and they are just waiting for organs.
Welcome to A Cup of Tea with Bree, where I get to know some of North Queensland's most amazing parents, incredible people and inspiring characters. Now, after receiving a life-saving lung transplant, today's guest has been documenting her journey on social media through the ups and downs of cystic fibrosis. So please welcome Sarah Sexton. How are you going, Sarah?
I'm good, Bree. Thanks for having me.
Oh, look, it's absolutely an honour to have you here. You've got an amazing story, and I'm really looking forward to sharing it with everybody today. So let's start at the beginning, though. Tell me about your childhood. Where were you born, and what was life like for you growing up?
I was born in Cairns, raised here. My whole family's from here. I was born with cystic fibrosis. My mum didn't know until I was 6 weeks old, and this is back in the day before the internet. So she was handed a baby at 6 weeks, told it had cystic fibrosis, and given a whole heap of pamphlets, and it all went from there.
Oh, wow. Must have been a big shock for her.
Yeah, it was. Even nowadays, I see some of the mums going through it now, and they've never heard of cystic fibrosis before, but at least they've got the internet now. They can research, they can find other people through social media, so there's a lot of support these days.
So what is cystic fibrosis, for those that don't know?
It's a genetic disease, and it affects the whole body, but mainly the lungs. So we produce thick, sticky mucus like you get when you have a cold or a flu. We produce that constantly. So we have a horrible cough, which isn't contagious, but people always think we're contagious when we cough. And yeah, it affects other organs from the medication and everything.
Wow. So what did it mean having a double lung transplant for you? By the time I hit 17, my lungs started going downhill rapidly. So at 25, I was told I wouldn't live to see 30 without it. I had the transplant at 27 after 3.5 months on the transplant list. Luckily, I've got a different blood group to normal. It's not the normal O positive, I think it is. Yep.
Which actually gave me a head start, so I didn't wait too long. By that stage, I was down to 24% lung function, so I couldn't do much.
No.
I'd do a bit in the morning, I'd get all my errands done, but by the afternoon I'd be so tired and just couldn't cope with it, so the afternoons were pretty much a write-off for me.
Wow. It would have been difficult as a teenager as well. So what was life like for you growing up? You wouldn't have been able to do what most kids could do.
I missed a lot of school. Grade 12, that affected me a lot. I didn't end up finishing grade 12 because I spent a month in hospital. And when I went back, it all just got too much for me. So I think I gave up then. And just halfway through, it all got too much. So that was pretty hard, especially seeing all my friends graduate when I got that far and just didn't make it.
Oh dear, it must have been really hard because you have brothers and sisters as well.
No, just me.
Yourself. Yeah, it would have been hard for your mum as well, I guess, seeing you struggle so much.
Yeah,
because my son, he has the odd asthma, and that's tough enough as it is. But for you, even a common cold or any sort of illness would have. Yeah,
it knocked me for 6, and it was 2 or 3 weeks in hospital.
Every time.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're a really big ambassador now for cystic fibrosis. You're an incredible inspiration to so many. So if you could give one piece of advice to people suffering with cystic fibrosis, what would it be?
I see a lot of the CFs who let their illness take control of their lives, whereas I've never been like that. Mum asked the doctors if they wanted us to move to Brisbane when I was diagnosed, but they said keep Sarah in Cairns, and I'm glad she did that, because I was able to separate my CF life from my normal life. So I could go to Brisbane, do all the hospital stuff, get better, come back and just live normally, which I really liked. And just you just have to have a lot of support. A really good village around you helps a lot.
So you went through high school and then your early years and you got that double lung transplant at 27. So what's life like for you now?
It's not a cure, so I have had a lot of ups and downs. It's been a massive roller coaster ride, but overall, I am now healthy to deal with everything, whereas before, if all these illnesses came up, I just wouldn't have had the energy to deal with them. So now we're sort of going one thing at a time and like a bull at a gate and get better and sort of sit back and wait for the next thing to happen.
Yeah, because you've got a husband, partner now, and you're a stepmom as well.
Yeah.
So beautiful. How old is he?
9-year-old boy.
Aww.
Very energetic.
Yeah, most
He's
boys
keeping me young.
What most boys are.
Yes.
So then what's been one of your most, your best personal achievement?
Definitely the lung transplant, I'd say. But even since then, before transplant, I couldn't make plans because I never knew if I was going to end up in hospital, sick, not able to get out of bed. So even just getting married was the biggest achievement for me because I was able to plan it a year in advance and not worry about having to cancel it.
Yeah. When did you get married?
2 years ago in October it was.
How did you meet your husband?
We actually first met in high school and it wasn't until, so we've been friends all that time, it wasn't until we were just around transplant time, we both got back together after being in long-term relationships.
Wow.
Coming out of them and sort of found each other.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Then you got dealt another blow this year.
Yes, it was late last year actually. I got diagnosed with bowel cancer. And this year I had the operation to remove part of my bowel, the lower bowel.
Wow. So many surgeries have you had?
I've had countless now. But 3 major ones would be the lung transplant. I did have a hysterectomy and the bowel cancer one.
And is that all to do with your CF?
It's all to do with the transplant drugs. You're on immunosuppressants after transplant, so your body doesn't reject the organs because your body sees it as a foreign object. So I have to take tablets every 12 hours so my body doesn't reject them. But of course, being on such hardcore medication also causes other stuff. Or your body doesn't fight cancer cells and stuff. So that's how that all came about.
Incredible. So if you could have dinner with 3 people, whether past or present, who would they be and why?
Definitely my grandfather. I lost him when I was 16 and that was a very big blow around that time for me. I was very close to him because I grew up with him as my father figure, and losing him at the time that I did took it very hard. Another person I really like would be Bill Bryson. He's an author.
Okay.
He's a travel author and he's just really interesting. I enjoy his books and he's a mountain of knowledge. So I think he'd be very interesting to sit at the dinner table with, and he seems like he's got a bit of a funny streak to him. The third person, I really can't think of anyone else off the top of my head.
Yeah, it's a tough question. It always interests me as to who people will pick.
I really like Goldie Hawn.
Yeah,
let's go with Goldie Hawn.
Yeah, she'd be lots of fun. That'd be a fun lunch.
Yeah.
So if you could give one piece of advice for people watching right now that have, maybe on a transplant list or anything like that, what would be your advice to them?
Just keep trying. Every day is different. I guess my advice would be to people who aren't on the transplant list more, because, there's people sitting there who have had no life like me their whole life and they are just waiting for organs. And it's a very tough decision for your family to make, but if they are aware of your wants and what you want, if that situation should arrive, it makes it a lot easier for them. But the chances of that happening are so low. That's why organ donation is very rare, because it's not everyone who passes that can donate. It's very special circumstances.
So people watching, what would you recommend them do? Is just putting yourself on the list? How do you do it? You
go to the Medigov website and you can register from there, and all you need is your Medicare card.
Okay, and you just register yourself.
But the main thing is just telling people because they're not going to take organs when the family say no. So that's the main thing, I think. Talking, researching, so you know all the information.
So the person that gave you your lungs, do you know who else they saved or any information about them? There
was a girl who had a heart valve transplant the same day as me. Whether it's from the same person, I don't know, but it's a bit of a coincidence.
Yeah.
But that's all I know. We don't know anything else about our donors. It's very private.
Yeah, which for good reason, but what an incredible gift.
Yes.
So Yeah, it's incredible. So what about any way that people can help the organisations that you support, and where should they follow you on Facebook?
I've got a Facebook page, Breathing Borrowed Air. I haven't been very active on there lately. It's normally when I have stuff going on. So if I'm not active, it means I don't have a lot going on. But I do a lot of charity work with the Cystic Fibrosis group, who are run in Townsville, but they're not for profit, and all money it stays local. So it stays within Townsville, Cairns and the Cairns region, and it's only for the CF sufferers and their families. So they help me with, when I have to go to Brisbane for my clinics, they pay for my taxi fares. If the hospital won't fly my mum, and I want my mum there, even though I'm 32 years old, I still would like her with me most of the time. Yeah,
she's been at all your appointments since you were a kid.
And she gets very anxious if I leave her here as well. So she tends to come with me, and they will pay for her flights as well. So they've been very good to us. Any equipment that's needed for the CFs, it's all paid for by them.
Because how rare is it? Are there lots of people in Cairns that have CF?
There are more and more. Last statistics I looked at were 1 in 2,500 people in Australia have cystic fibrosis. And there's a lot more who actually carry the gene and don't know about it.
You're an incredible inspiration. So where can people find out more about cystic fibrosis or any of the organisations that you've mentioned?
They all have Facebook pages. They're all on mine. You can find links to them through mine. There's CF in Townsville, my own page, and can't think of any more off the top of my head.
So if you had one wish, what would it be?
Just for everyone to get some knowledge on organ donation, because I think a lot of people have the wrong idea on how the process of it. So if everyone is educated on the topic, I think it'd be a lot smoother process for everyone.
Absolutely. So there you have it. Donate some organs. Go and sign up now. I'm going to do it straight after this. But if you'd like to see more of our episodes of A Cup of Tea with Bree, don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss out on a new episode of A Cup of Tea with Bree, and I'll see you next time.